Hey everyone, it's Bravehawk coming at you with the topic of hexes and curses. So I think everyone this week has already kind of put in their say about it, and I think generally, they're all right. So probably by the time you get to this video, you probably heard it all and all that stuff. So I'm going to be very brief as to what I say, I guess. And I just kind of wanted to state that, when you are feeling that something's coming at you or whatnot, and you feel that someone's casting you, I personally don't agree with the first thing you should do is to cast a protection spell, because I kind of put it like this, and it is, kind of vulgar in a sense as the expression I use, but it's like if you fart in a car, you don't roll up the window, you roll it down and clear it out. So I believe, the first step you should do if you're feeling like someone is casting on you is to kind of clean yourself out. You can do this numerous ways. I know Blythe said that a salt bath is good, but I usually go a step further, and I tend to cleanse myself out internally. I drink this stuff called magnesium citrate, and I clean myself out through there, and then I take a nice bath of some sort that makes me feel that I'm being cleansed. It's not always a salt bath, but depending on the situation, I'll use different herbs, and stuff like that. So that's one way of doing it, and then I'll go and cast my protection spell. And it's just in a sense that, if there is something hanging around you, you don't want to cast a protection spell to trap it around you, because a lot of times that's what happens, because that's our first reaction, is to cage ourselves up and put a protection spell around us. And I think that's very detrimental to the caster, or to the person that's being affected. You should always open up windows in your house. You can smudge. Don't do just sage. I say do smudge. I grew up in the Native American culture, around Native American people. I was in rituals before, starting at 9, so I know the stuff that goes into a smudge. And it's not just sage. So you might want to research that if that's what you've been using, is just sage. Clean out your whole house. Don't just do your room. If you have roommates, wait till they leave. Because there was a lot of times I was living with roommates, and I would take a sick day when I knew I could have the house to myself, and then just clean the place out. And start from there. And if it starts to kind of come back, well, maybe it's something internally in your house. It might be roommates or something that might be causing it, and you can go from there. So that's kind of how I approach a situation. There are witches that are out there that's saying, oh, I'm so powerful, no one can get at me because, my shit don't stink and all that stuff. But and then there are other people that are like, at the drop of a dime, oh, someone's casting on me, I don't know what to do, blah blah blah, and they're calling on people to help them out. And I believe that we all have kind of the ability to be affected by things. It's just how we handle it. And the only way I can liken that to something that kind of expresses my opinion is, a long time ago I had tarantulas, and a lot of the advice that my friends were given, that I spoke to via the internet and stuff, that kind of got me in the hobby. They say that your tarantula is a wild animal, and you never know what it's gonna do, but if it happens to get loose, you have to remember that you're always in control, and how you handle that situation will be, determines, how you get it back into the cage, how long it's going to take to get back in the cage. So that's kind of how I liken it to, magic is a very wild and raw energy, and it's gonna do what it needs to do whenever it wants to do it. So that's why I think everything should be handled with caution, and you kind of have to take it like this. If you are, you start to get that energy around you, you start to build up, your essentially your magical empire in a sense. You're gonna attract things. Period. It's gonna happen. It's like walking down the street with $100 bill hanging out of your pocket. Sorry, there, my audio apparently cut out at some point, and so did the video. So as I was saying, it's if you're building your empire, of all this magic around you, in a sense, you're building your own, pretty much your own magical space. Things are going to be attracted to that, no matter what you do. I think it's just on how you handle yourself and how you treat that. The more you respect yourself, the more you're going to get to know what you need to do. The more you get to know your body, the more you get to know your energy. As the same way, the more you get to know your body, the more you get to know your mind as well. And I think, we shouldn't all focus on our body, and we shouldn't all focus on our mind, and we all shouldn't focus on our spiritual energy. I think those all have to kind of intermingle and have their own kind of like triad of power in a sense. That kind of keeps you going, and when one feels something, the other two will give you signals in a sense. And I think, everyone will have their own alarm system in a sense, your own stranger danger type of sense going off. So me to sit here and list things that might flag, certain curses or hexes that have been placed on you, this would be a very, very long video. So all I can say is pay attention to yourself, and that's pretty much it. The only differences I would like to say between hexing and curses per se is, hexes slash jinxes, it's in a sense it's crossing something. That's why there's an X in there. Well, that's what I believe anyway. When you hex someone or you jinx someone, you kind of cross them. It's in the same way as when you do the Celtic crossbred and tarot. You lay one card down and then one over it, crossing. This is what's crossing you. That's, in a sense, that's a hex. It's something that you can pay attention to and slowly over time fix. Curses, you usually hear those as family curses. They're like Life said, there are stipulations in a sense. Some might be, you just gotta have this last name to have this curse, and you gotta do this to get it off, so on and so forth. And others can be very dramatic and very short. There's really no length of time for that curse, and other than it's there to really cause you more harm than good, usually. At the same time, there are some curses that have a positive backlash, in a sense, and usually that's why they're cast. If someone's being a dick to you, like Life said, you're going to curse them, so they're going to learn to be nice to you, and that's a positive, backlash. There are certain things like that. I kind of picture it like this, or kind of say this. It's an expression I say all the time, but if you give a person enough rope, they can either save themselves or they can hang themselves. It's all up to them, and that's kind of what a curse is. Most people that cast curses, in a sense, they believe they're helping the other person in one way or another. If they don't help themselves, then they're going to hurt themselves, slowly but surely. If they help themselves, slowly but surely the curse wears off. With a hex, it's just straight up, I want this to happen no matter what, the end. It's the same way with a jinx. The hex and the jinx are similar things, I believe. A hex is just straight up, like I said, you just want to go out for blood. You want someone to be in pain and suffering like they caused you. Because like begets, like. So that's my one tip. If you are, a hex caster, or you want to go into that field, not that I really condone it, I believe that use what you got. So if someone causes you a lot of pain, then you can use that energy and send it to them and let them know, like, hey, this is how I'm feeling, and I hope you feel the same way, you dirty bastard. Jinxes are kind of, they're very weird too. It's hard to explain a jinx because I've only experienced like jinx magic and stuff like that with fairies. So I always like to do it with fairies. So if you know how like fairy personalities are, not every fairy is, light and rainbows and shooting rainbows out their fingertips and crapping glitter and stuff. They can be very mischievous and very malicious, and to them it's fun. And I think that's what a jinx is. It's very, in a sense, lighthearted and fun, but it's also causing a lot of trouble. I'm trying to figure out a way to explain it, but it's like when a childhood prank goes wrong. That's what a jinx is. It's something that started out playful, and to kind of like mess with someone's day, not so much to cause them harm, but just to mess them day. Like, say you don't want them to, they have a flat tire, every time they go out to the car or something like that, something weird and strange like that, some weird things happening in their car, and then something happens to where it really turns bad. That's what a jinx is. And when that moment when it turns bad, usually the jinx it's done. It usually kind of like dispels its own self. Let's see, what else can I say? As far as curses and hexes and jinxes, I was trained basically. Well, I really wasn't trained by Santeria. I sort of picked it up along the way, and I was taught from this person that that when you cast hexes and curses and whatnot, hexes are usually to banish something. So if you are having trouble with a person, because I know a lot of hexes are casted on people more than situations, but if you're hexing a person, it's because you want that certain element to be taken away from that person. Like, I'm going to play off of Blythe, and Blythe said, if someone's being a dick to me, I'm going to make sure they hurt and be in pain. So you would want to cast a hex for them not to be a dick to you. And I was also told that, never keep these spells, all these instruments that you use, in your actual house, in your actual living environment, and not with your magical stuff, because that particular energy can affect all the other things that you do. And it's like taking a piece of rotten fruit and putting it on fresh fruit. Eventually it's gonna catch to the other fruit, and then you're not gonna have any fruit at all. So I was told, if you're using a hex to banish something out of someone, the best way to do it is to find either a crossroads or running water. And once I kind of implemented this into my own craft and my own style of what have you, I actually got a lot better results in a sense. So I started to do that. So if I was going to hex someone to banish something, I would take them to the crossroads, or I'd take it to a run of water. And the trick with the crossroads and the run of water, it's supposed to be a place that you don't go to like ever. It's in a sense, the more energy you spend to find a place that you don't ever go to, that actually gets fed into the spell. At the same time as you don't want to cross over that same road for at least a year and a day. I know that's more of a Wiccan thing, but she incorporated that into her magic, and I kind of take it on that practice as well. That I wouldn't go over that crossroads, or I wouldn't go to that river for a year and a day, you know, if it was going to be, you know, just to hang out. You know, if I'm doing other stuff, I'm doing other hexes and stuff, yeah, I can go over there and toss my stuff, you know, to the crossroads or to the running water, you know, and since the running stream. Also, she kind of broke it down to me, and kind of her analogy was that, you know, Legba is kind of the guy that kind of is the crossroads magic guy, that like if you want anything done you got to go through him. So that's why she said, you know, running water or crossroads. She goes, take it to him and he'll decide if it goes any further. You know, it's like anything, the more work that you put into anything, the more likely that you're going to get something out of it. So, you know, you have to take it to another person and have kind of a mediator in a sense, because you know, when you have two kids in the house, they both think they're right when they've been fighting. Well, you know, Susie called me, you know, fart face, and Billy says that she was looking at him wrong, so now they want to fight and they're both right. It's good to kind of have a mediator in that sense, and that's why, you know, I let, you know, the person of the crossroads, Legbud, kind of take over that sense. If he feels that, hey, yes, you know, I feel that you're right, so we're going to take this to the next level. If no, then you won't see anything. So that's kind of how I play off of that. So really, that's all I've got to say about that. I'm sure I'll think of other things once I turn the camera off, but right now that's all I can think of. So I'm going to end it right here, and you guys have a great week, and I'll see you next topic.